idea. Welcome everybody to Monday night's empowerment session. We will be learning more about how to use the Soul Naturals products and their adaptogenic formulas to empower our knowledge and take charge of our health. We're going to jump right in as we learn about calm and hear what Tammy Peterson has to share with us.
Hi, everybody. Val, thanks for having me tonight. I always feel like it's such a privilege to be able to be a part of your group and to maybe help somebody else. My calm oil experience, I have to kind of whisper, involves my son. And, as a teenager, I had a lot of anxiety and depression and, anger like a lot of teenagers do. But he didn't want my help. And so I'd have to sneak things into his smoothie. And at night, after he would go to sleep, I would put the diffuser in his room with calm oil. And I felt like this helped. I mean, of course, now we're far from that. But interestingly, I never thought he knew. And about 2 or 3 months ago, he asked me, he said, "Hey, could you please put that thing that puts the oil in the air back in my room, the one with the calm one, so I can calm down. I'm having so much anxiety." And I was like, okay, didn't think you knew, but I sure will. So now he asked for it and doesn't need it as much. But obviously, even he knew it was helping him. So I felt like that was a win for a mom. So I hope that will help you with some of your kids.
I love when our children end up telling us the difference that things make. And I've always taught that if we listen to the children, they will give us the information that we need, and they'll let us know what they do and don't need. And this is a perfect example of this. So this excites me. So thank you, Tammy, for sharing about this. So we're going to be looking at the Calm Essentials Calm Essentials blend. And one of the first essential oils in it is patchouli. And of course, most people associate patchouli with like the hippies and people that would wear patchouli. You could always notice them, pretty quickly, like in the shop when they come walking in. I could identify that very quickly. But it is one of the deeper or the lower notes, the base notes that is in this calm blend. And it is an extremely grounding blend. And when you think about grounding, literally think about being connected to the earth. And I like this little phrase that is on here when it talks about especially when feeling neglected. So think about that and keep that in mind as we move forward here as to instances when that might apply. So even for Tammy's son, who knows what was necessarily causing the anxiety, but think about it when our feelings feel neglected. Well, maybe we can't identify them to be able to share them. So patchouli also helps with positive thinking. It can help with digestion, and digestion is something that I have used the calm with for many people. We're talking about for urinary concerns, skin, candida, helps you to connect and reattach to yourself. This is a blend that I also use for trauma, and that makes sense too. When you think about when people get traumatized, they will often leave their body. They can also not have memories of certain things. Well, that's because they've left to not be present. So patchouli helps with overcoming this. And then we see the antibacterial, antifungal properties, anti-inflammatory, depressant, all these different properties that are in with the patchouli. Blue cypress is in here. It's one of the oils that got added in when the formula was reformulated. It is a oil that I've always enjoyed. And one of the reasons I like it is specifically this part here where it talks about promoting feelings of security. So think about that combined with what we've already learned about with the patchouli and how I have used it for trauma. Well, now I've got them both right here. So no need to use it separately. The structural system. So maybe thinking about pain or muscle support. And then there's your anxiety stuff right there being addressed by the blue cypress. And then insomnia. And so as you listen to these little components, what each of these oils do, notice how well they end up, quote unquote, playing together as we move forward and look at this full recipe in this blend. Petitgrain, and I always have found this neat too. Most people don't realize that we have these 3 different oils that come from the bitter orange tree. So the neroli is going to be that real flowery smell that does come from the flowers. The bergamot comes from the fruit, but the leaves is where we get petitgrain from. So we're looking at for working with anger, panic, anxiety. It helps to relax the body and mind, but yet it doesn't dull the senses. Very important. Nobody likes to be so relaxed to where they can't think. You know, when we're overwhelmed or dealing with stress or anxiety, the whole idea is still to be able to function, and as opposed to being zombied out. It also is going to help to calm that rapid heartbeat. We've got another part here where it's working with sleep as well. Notice it for skin irritation or blemishes. And you notice that deodorants. We've had several people that would use it and maybe mix it with a little AC cream, or just mix it in. When we had the calm bars, they would use that as a deodorant for themselves. German chamomile. I always use German chamomile for the digestive system. And look at the different things we've got going on here, whether it's IBS, colitis, colic, or diverticulitis. So remember there with the colic, maybe a blend with just like one drop in it when we're working with young children or babies cutting teeth or having digestive issues. And one of the young ladies that used to work for me, when her second son was born, when he started cutting his teeth, she made him a roller blend with just one drop of the calm oil in a carrier in the roller bottle. And he would just grab it and hang on to it after they would apply it to his, just his jawline when he was hurting from teething. And he knew, in fact, he would go get it at points as he got older because he knew how much it helped. And again, look here for how German chamomile works for adrenal support. So those of us have had past issues with adrenal fatigue, this calm oil, and this is one of the reasons it works so well for me, is one of the things that I use in a bath every single night in my Epsom salts. As I push harder and harder, you know, I do not want to wear myself out and never end up back where I was again. The balsam, again, promoting feelings of safety and security. We've got more ways to address the gastrointestinal system, but now we've got additional things for the urinary system. And look at this for alopecia. That's a new one that we hadn't seen. Mm-hmm. So I am actually running into cases now of people that have developed alopecia as a result of vaccinations, and using a blend with the calm oil is a way that they're addressing that topically in those areas. Also look at it as mental chatter. I know that I have talked about in the past that I'm one of those people that the brain can just take off and have its whole conversation, keep on going, and I need it to be able to shut down at night. So this is one of my steps that I do, along with using the Infatuate during the day and the Solmegas, and then I use the Calm in my approach to help the brain to shut down so I can sleep. Now, I also like this here, standing up for yourself. So if we think about we're feeling more safe and secure, it gives us that ability or confidence, and along with being grounded, to be able to stand up for ourselves. Also notice the past emotional wounds. We'll be referencing that later. And then we've got another one here working as a deodorant or anti-inflammatory. The Roman chamomile is another one. Again, you're starting to see a pattern, I think. So as we see more and more things having to do with digestive tract and intestinal system, think about when we get overwhelmed or like we're stressed out and we can't process something. We literally our body's trying to digest the emotion, which is why sometimes people will stuff their emotions with eating, or they simply can't eat. Well, applying the Calm over this whole digestive tract can help settle this down and stop that. Here we've got tying in with sleep, hysterity. We've got another one here for the adrenal support. Also working with loss and grief, irritability, and rage as well. Mm. And then finally, Yuzu, which is one that a lot of people were not familiar with. Supporting, we've got structural system down here, muscle soreness. You remember this when we talk about restless leg later. So this is, we've got a phenomenal combination here, and it just works outstanding to address a variety of issues. So how do you know when to reach for the Calm? What might be some of your indicators to think about it? So what I'm going to say is there pain? Well, think about how pain feels. One of the main things we do when we have pain is we hold our breath. That's not very relaxing. So wouldn't we want to calm the area to help us be able to breathe? When we hold our breath, we lock the pain in. What's one of the big major things they always tell us women when we're going to labor? They're like, don't hold your breath. You lose the power. You can't, and it just locks things in. So think about it that way. Another thing, is there tension? So if I have upset stomach or indigestion, there's that tension or tightness. Or think about that colicky baby with that tightness on the stomach. And as I'm thinking too, back to the pain, think about there's some great stories tied into migraines and wisdom teeth removal, how the calm has been used for that. So as in topically outside along the jawline. Another reason to know, or way to know when to reach for the calm is there past or current trauma? I have ran into multiple indicators to where people were locked down and could not function because of things that have occurred currently or in the past. And using that calm was very helpful for them to gradually and gently be able to move forward. Some of you have heard the story about our second oldest grandson. We raised him for about a year and a half when our daughter was deployed overseas in Afghanistan. And of course, when you're that young, as in he was about 14 months old when she was deployed. All you know is one day mom's not there. And so he doesn't understand, and he's living with us, and a year later she comes home for 2 weeks, and then she's sent back out again. So again, you start to not trust that people you love are going to be there. What happened with him is he got to where he would not say goodbye to anybody, and he told me constantly he didn't have a heart. So I got an idea when he was, I got to think maybe 6 or 8, it's hard to remember. He's 12 now. And what I did is I made a roll-on with the calm in it, and I called him over to me. And at that point, he and his mother were still living with us as she was integrating back into society after having been deployed. And I told him, and daily, once or twice a day, I would roll that roll-on up and down his spine. And I told him, say, hey, grandma wants to put some on your chest. And I put squiggles on his chest. I couldn't tell him I wanted to put it over his heart, because then he'd emphatically tell me he didn't have a heart. Well, after about 45 days doing this, my sister and her son, who was about a year and a half younger than my grandson, came to visit. The boys had a fantastic time. And when my sister and her son came time to leave, our grandson actually went and hugged him and said goodbye, and then disappeared into his room. And it was jaw-dropping to me. Well, he came out about 30 minutes later. He says, look, Grandma, he said, I gave myself tattoos. And he had taken in his arms and his legs, he had put tiger stripes all over. And he says, and look, and he lifts up his shirt, and he had drawn a heart on his chest, a 4-chambered heart. And I attribute this completely to utilizing that calm oil on him and working with that trauma and things he wasn't able to understand. And he never has said that he didn't have a heart since, and he will always say goodbye to people now. Also worked very well for him for nightmares on the anniversary of her deployment. So think about also, is there overwhelm? Well, that whole story I just told you, there was a lot of overwhelm and a lot of things that didn't make sense to a little boy. So if there's overwhelm, no matter what the age, that might be a time to reach for the calm. And is there exhaustion? Have you seen when kids or people just get so tired that they can't relax, or so tired that they get wired? That would be another indicator where I would think for calm. And another one that I've noticed in particularly with young children is, does it smell irresistible to them? So little ones will just like hold on to that bottle and they won't let go of it. That to me is an indicator that I might want to use that with their program. So I want to refer, as we go through all 4 of these oils over this time period, to something out of Jennifer's book each time, because she was the one that formulated these, and she's absolutely a brilliant aromatherapist. And she understands the impact has on all the aspects of the body. And this is a great quote. It says, aromatherapy has an incredibly influential effect on our emotions. It can help us come to terms with and accept the emotions we're feeling, process them, understand them, and help us to move through them and past them. In small amounts, it can subtly shift you into a healthier state. Higher amounts, more frequently, can help you dive deeper into your core soul-level emotions, where the root of the emotional manifestation occurs. But it can sometimes be a little too overwhelming and overloading. So starting out with smaller amounts is what I recommend until you become comfortable with your body's emotional responses. More isn't always better in the world of aromatherapy. And I will tell you that's even more true with our oil blends and the unique ability and way that Jennifer has formulated them, and her involvement with helping make certain that we get the absolute superior quality. These 4 blends, the Calm, Lift, Clarify, and Balance, have absolutely allowed me to get rid of all the other individual essential oils and everything that I always cart around for years. It was a godsend to me to not have to cart all that around. So again, a quick review. We touched on this on the balance episode. Different ways to use it. You can put it in a carrier with a roll-on, in a roll-on with a carrier, otherwise spray. You can use a little bit of witch hazel to dilute it, and as a dispersal agent, a diffuser. You can use the inhaler for aromatherapy, hot moist rag. That works very well with the Calm. I've watched it stop an IBS attack in motion to where someone could sit through the entire meeting that I was doing, using in the bath like I talked about. And we always want to use it, get less for children, elderly, and I should say for pets. We have a lot of people that use these for pets as well. They don't need as much. Less is more. So now let's listen to what Shauna has to say with how she has used the Calm.
Hello, a testimony for Calm. I have to honestly say that was my least favorite oil when the spa set first came out. It was woodsy, kind of a deep smell, and I always loved lavender and the lighter scents, but I knew I needed it. So because at that time I was still having chronic daily migraines, I would use it regardless, and I got to where I craved the smell of it, but I would roll it on the back of my neck. I rolled it up my jaw, around my forehead, across the forehead, dab it at my wrist if I needed to, but always right here. That's something I've always done. And the interesting thing is that kind of evolved, but it would help bring me levels so that I could rest when I did have one of those horrible migraines, which I no longer have now, and I'm thankful. But the other thing that I did initially, and I know Jennifer has said that she wouldn't recommend this, but I did do it short term and I didn't do it long term, but I would roll it up and down the spine. I have degenerative disc disease, and as you know, a couple of lumbar surgeries and 2 cervical fusions, and I have enough stenosis that I have some burning pain if I overdo things. So I'll roll it, and it's almost immediate relief. The other thing, I use it for sleep. I would have actually 2 roll-ons by the bed, and in a small one, I had probably 5 drops in mine. And in the bigger roll-on, I did at least 8 to 10. That's just what worked for me. And the other thing I used it for was I had horrible reflux, and so I would roll it up and down the esophagus because it would wake me at that time out of a sound sleep. And that would help bring it back because I did take the Vertizymes as well. But everything I've done, Calm has been my go-to, and now Contentment. But the other thing was I would put maybe a little bit of Solflex cream over my liver if my stomach was upset or I wasn't sleeping. Just little things like that. Calm has been my go-to. And the other thing that I don't want to forget is with the interstitial cystitis, when I have like lower abdominal pain, pelvic pain, I will roll that along there, and it's almost immediate for me. And now I can combine that with the AC cream as well. But I also always took it with me when I traveled, and always did some kind of a carrier, whether it was grapeseed or whatever. I would take it with me and put it and rub it together and rub it all over my feet and put socks on before bed. And it would help me to sleep every night. And then I graduated to the point I was just the back of the neck, across the forehead, around the jawline in that area. But I do love the Calm blend and Contentment even more, which upped the game. So hopefully some of those tips are useful, but that is my go-to.
You know, it's a great point to reference how she talks about putting it on the bottoms of her feet. Well, think about all the reflex points that are there and how you're sending the Calm directly into those reflex points for all those organs and body parts. And I think that's one of the reasons it works so effectively to help people with sleeping. So at this point, we're going to have Greg share about the different categories and the reasons that we have the 4 different blends. Greg, do you need the screen?
No, I don't, Valerie. I think tonight I'll just share a couple of thoughts about it, if that's okay. And by the way, I've just loved your presentation, as always. Made me think about lots of stuff, and both of those experiences, both Tammy's and Shauna's, you can tell that they've helped a lot of people. And it is great when you can start with your own family, huh? Because sometimes they don't let you.
Yes.
I was going to say, Tammy, my son, Ethan, Valerie's helped us a lot with Ethan. And I think I've shared in the past, he has battled with Tourette's. And he is doing the same thing for years now. It's the Adaptable to Soul magazine. He's always telling us when he needs more. He takes those himself and he decides how much. He does it every night. And then he does the Soul Balm, which was Valerie's counsel years ago, huh? How Val? It was years ago.
Yes.
He hasn't stopped. He loves that. That's how he starts his day. Yeah, Tammy just chatted in my son tick for years. And Ethan still does a little, hardly any physical ticks now. In fact, it's been forever since I've noticed one. But when he talks, I can tell when he's a little nervous still, because he will do a little, he'll do that still sometimes. But it's as I shared before, it's probably 95% less than what it was. And he's comfortable at school, he's comfortable with friends, and he's not altering his life at all because of it, that I can see, because of it. But I was going to tell you, he does the same thing. He has a diffuser. He tells me when he needs another spa pack. He does use all 4, but I can always tell what he's been using, because in the morning, he still wants his mom to wake him up. I mean, he's 16, but it isn't because I know why, and she knows why. He just likes that care still, and she wants to give it still, because he's quite independent on what other stuff he does. So when we go in, and sometimes I'll go in and get him up, because he's been doing his road test for driving. He just finished this morning. So if you lived anywhere near Utah, I was going to ask you to consider what routes you take for the next few days. He's got a license. But I like going in to wake him up, because I can tell what he diffused. And he usually does a blend, but Calm is almost always in it. I've noticed that. And when he started, he didn't. It was almost purely lift. Because from the start, we told him, we kind of did what Valerie said. Smell all of these. What smells good to you, what smells like you want it, try that, and let's go from there. And he's kind of adjusted over the years, but he always has Calm in there, and a pretty good amount. I mean, you walk into his room, and it's wonderful, though. It really is. So I absolutely want to add our experience to what's been shared by Shauna and Tammy. It's the same impact here in our house. And Valerie asked me to share a little, why did we decide to add oils to Soul? Because it wasn't the area of our expertise. As you know, really is powdered plant extracts, specifically of concentrations, focused on adaptogens and other great herbs that combine well. But the oils, as I thought about that question, why did we decide to bring the oils? And I think to give you the answer, maybe I've already said this, a big part of it I will take zero credit for. It really was all about Jennifer finding out through someone else about soul and the approach that we wanted to take before we had launched a single product, when it was all plans and notes and the beginnings of product testing. She loved the approach, knowing what she does about how oils work. And the moment that we talked with her, thanks to another person who connected us, it was one of those feelings where we knew very strongly that this was going to be very important to what we do at Soul. So I guess the second answer, one answer is serendipity, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure I'm one that believes in coincidences, right? And the second answer would be that because they are so influential in holistic health. And I'll just add a third answer, but it's really just an offshoot of the second one. Because of what a lot of people call the placebo effect. It is not a negative to us. It is the last thing from a negative. Placebo effect, generally when you talk about clinical studies, one group gets the actual active, the other group gets a fake, and they measure how many of that group report a successful benefit, a success with it, and attribute it all to the mind as if that's a negative, as if that's somehow discounting, what we're trying to do. And I understand why in the scientific method that it is that way, and there are times that you want to use it. However, it's never a negative to me. It is purely an illustration of why the mind needs to be involved in all healing. That's all it is to me. And after being around Valerie and people like her, that's been shown to me without them even saying it that way. Maybe sometimes they do, but just in listening to the way you help people, it's become ingrained. Yeah, like Samantha says, the mind, body, and soul, that whole connection is essential to healing. We always say that we have adaptogens because of all the reasons they're such great normalizers, and they open pathways and they provide nutrients at a level that very few plants do. They provide nutrition, they provide balance, and then other great tonic and other herbs are wonderful complements with them. And we talk about how that makes healing possible as long as we give ourselves a chance. As the body or whatever it is that's out of balance has an opportunity. It needs an opportunity, not to be in overdrive with no opportunity, but to have, to me, what that's come to mean is a state of a state free or near free from anxiety, a state of calm. And that's different. I know calmness is different in all of us to a degree, because like Valerie said, true calmness is not a dulling of the senses in any sense. So to me, that opportunity, when I share, the body will heal itself, the mind and emotions can process if they get an opportunity. Everything Valerie's taught tonight and Tammy and Sean have shared to me is about really both of those things. But oils are particularly amazing at providing an opportunity. And really, if you think about it, they're a certain aspect of a plant. We tend to gravitate to whole plant concentrates. Whatever the active is, if it's a leaf, a stem, sometimes leaf and stem, it can be a combination of the entire plant in some cases, but like in the case of eyebright, we've got 3 different parts of eyebright in the eyebright that we include. It's not just leaf, what is it? It's like leaf, flower, I can't remember, and stem, it says it right on the label. I'd have to go look at it. But with oils, you're kind of extracting out just the volatile oils, the pure, not, there's a little bit of other in there for sure. And that's not necessarily our approach in other things because of the uniqueness of these plants and these oils, because they are by definition so connecting of mind and body and soul. That's why to me, they're just unique and they work in a way that nothing else does. And when you add them into the equation, it often can change everything. So I hope that's not too jumbled, but that became apparent listening to Jennifer as she educated us further on that. And as we saw the way she combined, like Valerie said, not having to cart, we didn't want to become this cornucopia of every oil, because part of the soul mission is to make it possible for people in every household. You're not going to have, I'm not ever going to have the background Valerie has. I don't know very many people who will over, even with a lot of years. But soul was built to benefit from wonderful people like this, and to not, the oils are the same thing. Jennifer, I think, believes strongly in that model with the oils, and she's done a masterful job. Only someone with her background could prepare those without leaving gaps and holes and problems. So I think we just saw the huge benefit of the oils and the fact that they are absolutely necessary. I love it when I see different programs where there's a nutritional program and here's the oil that goes with it. Here's the roll-on that goes with it. I just love that because it feels complete to me. And I also have that little quiet inner smile that, okay, this person is going to see a bigger difference. And that was maybe my last comment would be one of the primary goals. It would be in the top 3 goals of Soul was to provide supplements in a way that people earlier on could start to see a change, could start to feel a difference, and then take heart to stick with it. Because in this industry, countless people have maybe tried it a little, not had enough guidance. Not everybody has a Val in their life, right? Or a Tammy or a Shauna or Samantha, or all of you that take the time to do what you're doing here. A lot of people don't have that, and they can try a little and just, it didn't work for me. And I always remember, do you remember the book, Valerie? Somebody wrote this in the other company we were in. I think their book the title was Herbs Always Work.
Oh, yes.
And I always loved that title because you'd have to put an asterisk to say, if you take enough and if you listen to your body, you gotta work with it. But they do always if you work with them. I always felt like oils, these essential oil blends would help ensure that objective of the company, that a person could always feel success to enough degree where they now know they have something that they can turn to. And then it's really up to them how much they avail of it, how constant we are with it, and if we want to get educated further and help others. So those are the reasons it was so important to us. It's still just as important. I love that we have 8 now. I'm like Shauna, those Compass blends are like the others in amazing and some more. And so I love them all. Anyway, Valerie, back to you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that was perfect. And because I agree too, I always see a more speedy success and even better follow through with someone on a program when we add either one of the Compass blends or one of the oils from the Personal Spa in their program. So I thought this was kind of neat because look at all these benefits we've had with Calm, yet there is still more things that we haven't even talked about. We've had people get results with helping to normalize blood pressure. Well, again, I don't know if people are aware, there can be traumas and things that can be tied that can drive up the blood pressure. We see people with asleep. We've heard about this. And these are all testimonies that are actually in the Soul Naturals Experiences group on Facebook. Restless legs. We have seen so many people, they end up making a spray with the Calm, and they would spray down their legs before going to bed and then have it right there on the nightstand if they had ever had any issues. Very helpful with that. Seeing people get rid of the issues with the snoring from their spouse, cramps from their cycles. It's just, we could go on and on. There's so many benefits. I will also tell you, like Greg was saying, these people are using these generally with their full program. So they're also getting the nutritional benefits addressed as well. And we've got headaches. And we have so many stories with migraines and headaches and the results getting with this. So now I asked Sam to share information about, a couple of years ago, I created a blend that I was calling the Soul Refuge blend. And Sam has gone to town with this blend and absolutely loves it. So let's listen to hear what Sam has to say.
Hi, friends. Samantha Post here and my daughter,
Adelaide.
We just want to share a quick tip about our favorite do-it-yourself blend using the Soul Essential Oils blends that we have available just at our fingertips. This blend is called the Refuge Blend, and you use 3 drops of the Calm, 2 drops of the Clarify, and 1 drop of the Balance. And you just want to find yourself some of these. I'm not for sure what size these are, but it's just kind of like the medium size roller ball bottles, the glass bottles. And you can get these at like your local health food store, or you can get them from even Amazon. I know I've ordered sets of where they come in a box like this with like a set of like a dozen of them. And they come with all these fun little tools to help you fill with like funnels and little squeegee things. And of course, like extra toppers and roller bottles. And Addie can show you how she uses the little tool to like pop the top off.
Okay, so the tool looks like this, and you can take either part, whatever it matches, like the big size or little size, and you just pop it right under there, and then just pop it off.
Perfect. Thanks, sis, for that showing. So we like to use these rollers as gifts for others. Adelaide carries one in her book bag. I have one in my purse. I have one at work. I give them away as gifts. And, you know, my favorite way to use this is for extra support on my knees when I'm going walking or doing a lot of exercise. I'll just slather it all over the front and the back of my knees, and it just really feels like it gives my knees the extra support that maybe they need. As well as Addie's favorite way to use it is...
I like to put it on my stomach.
You like it on your tummy?
Yep.
And do you like it on your tummy in the morning or at night?
Night.
Yeah, before you go to bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So they're just super fun. They're super simple, super easy. And then, of course, like for mixing them, you just want to use your favorite, like fractionated coconut oil is a good one. And sometimes if you can find a bottle that has this like little squirter pumper, that just makes it a little bit easier to pump that oil right down in. So hopefully that helps you, gives you a couple of ideas, and have fun making.
So everyone knows that I'm a big believer in using the Bella Health Package. These are the basics that I'd started with, and I start so many of my clients with. And do not hesitate to add that calm in as your approach, or how you work with the emotions or whatever else is going on with you. And again, you could add in the whole personal spa kit and adjust it, just like Greg was talking about with his son at night for whatever he wants to put in the diffuser. I know so many different times people would come in the shop and like, it smells so good. What have you got in? And every day I would change it, but it was always a mixture of those 4 oil blends. So, and then when we reference and look up here to our tree, remember, we're always addressing the roots. We're coming in for nutritional deficiencies, well now, and other things, but the Calm Essential Oil Blend is also working for emotions as well. So our quote to end with, I thought was very apropos. It says, just because we're in a stressful situation doesn't mean we have to get stressed out. You may be in the storm. The key is don't let the storm get in you. And I think that is just really shows us and what the Calm blend has the potential to do for people. So we can be in the storm, but not letting the storm get in us. So next week, we will be looking at the Soul Essentials Lift Blend and how we can use it to help become yourself again. So I hope you will join us next Monday at 6:30. At this point, we are going to